Every year in the US, there are 12.8 million people who will seriously think about suicide, 3.7 million who will barely plan it out, and 1.5 million who will go through with it. Out of those 1.5 million, 50,000 will succeed in taking their own life. In the past decade, suicide rates within the US have grown exponentially larger. And the fact of the matter is there are now preventative measures in place to offset this. The numbers alone are demonstrative. By the time I'm done with my speech, 15 people have tried to take their own life. By the time the next speaker comes up, when we'll have succeeded. Using the parameters set forth by the four-way speech contest, I plan to plead why suicide prevention is not only important, but integral to our society as a whole. Is it the truth? SAMHSA, the government agency behind the Suicide Prevention Hotline, documents their number of calls each year. This past year, they documented 5.7 million, a record high. Since their founding in 2022, they have documented 13.4 million. For comparison, the population of Pennsylvania is 13 million. Now, this might all seem like a bunch of numbers without true rhyme or reason, but the truth is each of these numbers represent people who have been affected by something so common it can be simplified to statistics in the millions, and each of these people will be adversely affected by the thoughts they've had for the rest of their lives, except those who didn't live. Tyler Clementi was a Rutgers University freshman who, prior to his induction, came out to his entire family. Though unfortunately, the love his family showed is not reciprocated by the rest of the world. Upon entering university, Clementi's roommates installed a hidden webcam, live streamed one of his dates to the entire campus, and leading to him getting intensely bullied. On September 22nd, 2010, Tyler Clementi jumped from the George Washington Bridge, ending his own life. This story is one quite common when viewing the events that prompted the speech's creation, but it shouldn't be, as I will never know the pain his family felt, and I imagine they wish they didn't know it either. But I am of the mind that we can't fret upon the misfortunes of the past. We need to change. When women were faced with the struggle to gain voting rights and saw the harmful repercussions of the rights or the lack thereof, they demanded there be change. When it was recognized that the failure to have seatbelts caused the death of human lives, change was in sight. This was not due to some moral greatness nor to pioneering individuals who deemed and decided what is and is not to take the forefront of crucial societal issues. No, instead it was due to a consensus of the minds, a consensus that saw a potent problem and a consensus that sought to fix it. Now I ask you, is it fair? Utilitarianism defines fairness in terms of outcome. In this case, the outcome is, will the introduction of that integral to suicide prevention produce the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people? Now, I'm not one to merely restate the words, well, there's nonsensically, nor their ideas. And in fact, I believe the question I ask could be answered with a no if you deem the parameters too loose, so I will specify. If we as a society choose to put suicide prevention on the forefront, will we be able to produce the greatest number of happy people? If we as a society choose to increase the ease of access for mental health care, will we be able to produce the greatest number of happy people? And if we as a society choose to recognize the severity and scale of suicide prevention, will we be able to produce the greatest number of happy people? I ask you this not for some push of rhetoric. Instead, I ask with a genuine sincereness, if we put suicide prevention on the forefront, can we decrease the rate at which it happens? If we recognize the severity and scale, can we prompt effective change? And if we recognize that the historical incentive for change is present here today, that incentive being a large and unruly loss of that crucial to one's livelihood, do we hold the ability to fix it? Those are the point to it all. In short, will it build goodwill and better friendship? Aristotle defines friendship in three ways: those grounded in utility or usefulness to each other, those grounded in shared enjoyment of activities and complementary pleasure which is bred, and those based on the genuine connection between two individuals. The last is seldom seen in one's life. I tell you this not for the purpose of some philosophical lesson which I myself may not be best at teaching, but instead to demonstrate that in all of Aristotle's definitions of friendship, he deems it integral for a person to have one with which they might call a friend. Suicide is heinous, opposite of any friendship which might be built. Instead of bolstering and reaffirming goodwill, is conducive of the opposite effect, harming any and all relationships which might be formed. If this is the case for suicide, it is prevention which might cause the opposite. Yes, if suicide serves to irreparably damage friendships, if it serves to hinder goodwill, then its prevention would serve to further them and reaffirm goodwill. Something cannot be formed of nothing unless you're God. That is a known fact, which means friendships cannot be formed if we haven't the necessary individuals to form them with. This leads me to my last criteria: will it be beneficial to all involved? To this question, I will obfuscate as I did prior. I will not leave you to interpret. I will tell you plainly yes. If we put suicide prevention on the forefront, we approach a time where the individuals affected by the loss of a loved one will no longer need to cry, and those who would commit suicide get a greater thought. We approach a time where there are not unjust tragedies with an unparalleled degree of commonality, and where we as a society can say we are fighting the just fight. I tell you all this not solely for the purpose of this speech. I tell you hoping the people in this room are better situated to perform decisive action than myself will. I tell you hoping you recognize this to aid in your call to one of the largest problems within America. As if the solution is not put forth by the government, it falls to the people. If the people as a whole fail to unify, it falls to the individuals. I ask you all, to the individuals who put forth the solution. Before I close and thank you all for your time, I would like to ask anyone in a position advantageous enough to donate to the Gabe Seidel Baseball Scholarship Fund, as I myself had the pleasure of knowing him, and if nothing more, I believe his preservation a step in the right direction to the future I painted here today. Now, I thank you all for your time.